Hey, Shalom, Sister Kate here. I want to show you something where I am. Getting a drink of water, kind of doing chicken things back there. Shalom, welcome back to the channel. Thank you for your video ideas. It is late afternoon and I'm putzing around the property. Wanted to answer some questions that one girl's Trek asked me. I'm not going to answer them all, but she had a few that I can answer in this video. So the first one was eggshells, and I think she said ground coffee in your garden. I'm not sure what you wanted to hear about that, so I'm just going to tell you what I think about that, and that is yes. I would grind up the eggshells and make them into some kind of powder and dry them, and then I would take them and the coffee grounds, and coffee grounds will be really good for acidic loving plants like roses. I'm not sure about acidic vegetables, but definitely your rose plants or your compost pile. Uh, the eggshells would be good, especially around your tomatoes. Supposedly, the lack of calcium does something to tomato plants and tomato fruit, so you would just put that in the soil somewhere near where you're going to grow your tomato plants. Also, wood ash. You can sprinkle wood ash on your garden. It's supposed to help keep bugs down, and it adds potash to the soil, which is good for your plants. She said something about common, not mistakes, but issues with water bath canning. So water bath canning is the easiest way to can stuff. It just requires a pot that full of water is going to be 1 to 2 inches above the level of the jars you're canning in it, and it has to have some kind of spacer in the bottom so that the jars are not sitting right on top of your heating element through the bottom of the jar, or through the bottom of the pot. And I have used washers in the past. I have used a stainless steel plate turned upside down, so there was a bit of a gap in the bottom there. I've used silverware. If you buy a commercial water bath canner at someplace like Walmart, it should come with a basket that is the same thing. When you water bath can, the basket's down in the bottom, and when you are done, you can pull all your jars up using the handles on that. And it has to have a lid. When you water bath can, you really can't just like do this stuff off the cuff. There are specific tables of information that talk about how to process whatever you want to can, and meaning, do you peel it, do you boil it, do you just chop it into pieces, how big of a piece do you chop it? All of that information is going to be online if you just type in, like, I'm canning peas today, or whatever. I think peas actually have to be pressure cans. Things canned in a water bath canner have to be acidic themselves. So things like tomatoes or tomato, what am I trying to say? Tomato mixes, not so much salsa. I think that's got to be pressure canned, but definitely tomatoes and pickles, applesauce. Those are top 3 that I can think of off the top of my head that you can water bath can. And then these tables I'm talking about come in various different books, like Carla Emery's Encyclopedia of Country Living, Back to Basics, Reader's Digest book, the Ball Blue Book, which is all about canning. Even your canner, when you buy it, should come with some sort of a little instruction book, and there could be stuff in there. I have a book called Stocking Up 3, which tells me there's probably a stocking up 1 and 2, and it has a whole thing on there on canning, and that's what I access. Or you can Google it. I'm canning tomatoes in pint jars, and there'll be information online, but if you want this stuff for your own kitchen, then get one of those books. And the Ball Blue Book ought to be the least expensive. They used to be $1 at places like Kmart, but I have no idea what they cost now. So those are your concerns with water bath canning. You have to have the jars, and you have to have the lids and the bands, and then follow the directions for whatever thing you're processing. You need a pressure canner for pretty much everything else. Green beans need a pressure canner. Things like your chilies and your stews and your salsas, things with more than one kind of vegetable or fruit all mixed up with meat maybe, all of that has to be pressure canned. So then on to another question she did that I thought was a good one. Any advice for a single woman prepper? And yes, I do. I have some advice for you. You have a lot of responsibility on your shoulders, so do what you can to alleviate that in that joining some sort of communities, but also groups that can offer you skills and possibly help and protection is going to be in your best interest. Is that going to be easy? Maybe not, because your own personal security is always at risk. Ooh, I don't know what it's probably squirrel. Um, so even before you join a group, you should get some firearms training and some self-defense training. And by that, it's a broad world. I know my husband would probably say, study Aikido or Krav Maga. I studied some Kung Fu in college. Any of those martial arts schools that have any reputation will give you some confidence and some moves and some skills to help defend yourself, and then get firearms training. And I'm not going to, you could go to gun site, but I don't know where you are and how much money you have. So what you ought to do is contact the National Rifle Association and find out the nearest class by one of their NRA certified instructors and take that class in either, handling a pistol or home firearm safety. They're not so much self-defense oriented as they are how firearms work. And there's a little bit of the legal in there. And then once you have that training, if your state allows you to carry a concealed carry, then go take your state's training and get certified in it. And then you'll have all the knowledge you need in order to use it to protect yourself. Having said that, stay out of situations that are going to put you in danger, obvious danger, like don't go out by yourself at night. Don't go to bars, don't go to parties by yourself, don't get drunk or high or in any way altered by yourself. Even if you go in group situations, don't be alone in the group. Always be with other people, females, but also males. Like if it's a boyfriend girlfriend pairing, can you trust that boyfriend and girlfriend pairing? Are they going to both prey on you? You know what I mean? So a couple of females, and definitely be on the side of your own safety. You should have some sort of large dog at home. Just pick a breed. They're Cane Corso, Akita, German Shepherd, whatever. Don't go for like the really friendly hound doggy types, because they're not going to be barky and looking out for your personal safety. We've got a little red heeler running around here. She's very protective. Female dogs tend to be more protective of the person. Male dogs tend to be more protective of the area, the property. You don't want the little frou-frou dogs, because sure, they'll bark, but they can't deter anybody. You know what I'm saying? Make sure wherever you live is very well lighted. Try not to be in apartment situations in parts of town that are shady, dark. And when by dark, I mean like there's not a lot of street lights. Like if the street lights have been broken out, or if there's no businesses or people's front porch lights, that sort of dark. You want to be in a well-lit area that's got people kind of coming and going, and always be looking out for your own safety. If you can't just be nonchalantly walking down the road, not paying attention. You have to always be checking around you and behind you and see if anyone's following you. Stay in well-lit areas, well-populated areas, and don't be afraid to ask for help. If you're for some reason on a college campus and you have a late class, ask someone in the class, or maybe you have campus cadets, campus police who will help. You can call for a sheriff or a sheriff's deputy. There's lots of different places you can call to get yourself some help if you're walking by yourself in a situation you don't consider safe. Be aware of where you're parking when you go places. Don't park in the back corner of a big parking garage. Park out on a well-lit street that's closer to your destination. These kind of things. Now, as for prepping, Oh no, I need to get back to try to get yourself in groups that can offer you help and protection. A church group is a good idea. A volunteer fire department. Even if you are not physically fit enough to be a firefighter, some departments would love to have someone who would take down their notes, be their treasurer or their secretary, or you can be in the what do they call it, auxiliary group that helps the firefighters. Like on scenes, the auxiliary group may bring water or first aid stuff. Um, oh, see, I keep looking away. It's not because I don't want to talk to you. It's because I'm trying to think and remember other suggestions I had for her. Yeah, church groups, volunteer fire department, maybe part of a scouting situation, a Girl Scout troop, a Boy Scout troop, volunteer at a hospital, um, farm co-op stores are a good place where there's, pretty healthy, normal people coming in and out and buying feed. If you can be a clerk there, you'll meet, pretty wholesomey, strong, outdoorsy kind of people. Um, you could go on hikes. Don't go on hikes by yourself. Go on hikes in groups. Go birding or taking pictures or whatever together with other people. Um, the ideal thing is to find a head, someone who will be responsible for you, but that's usually in the context of a husband. And if you're not married, you should not be husband shopping, in my opinion. In my opinion, you should be praying for your husband through the Father and let the Father bring your husband to you. Um, if you're working, and I'm assuming you are, you're supporting yourself, then keep a certain amount of your pay aside to buy yourself prepping things, and things for you to be prepping for is whatever emergency you think is going to happen in your area. Say your area is prone to flooding, then maybe a life jacket. Make sure you know how to swim. Make sure your transportation is always in good running order. Find a trustworthy mechanic and get maintenance done regularly. Make sure your tires are good, oil, gas, stuff like that. Oh, I didn't want those chickens to do that. I'm gonna have to chase them back in a minute. Um, Say you're in an area where fires are something that could happen, then be prepared to evacuate should it be necessary. And again, keep your vehicle up to date. Don't be living paycheck to paycheck. Be frugal enough that if you have to put yourself up in a hotel or something, you can afford that. Um, if you're in extreme weather, if you're in Alaska or Wisconsin or North Dakota or something, make sure you have quality outdoor gear ready should an emergency cause you to have to be outside for prolonged periods of time, including a sleeping bag and a tent, and even possible other locations, cabins in the state park, or I don't know, your Aunt Tilly's house, something. Um, Store everything you need: first aid supplies, medicines, shoes, clothes, um, things you're going to cook with, things you're going to um, if you think you're going to have to hike out of your area, if you're a single prepper and you think you're going to have to travel distances, have a radio, have hiking boots, have a backpack, have dehydrated foods because they're the lightest weight and the easiest to deal with out there. Um, have lights, maps, know how to read a map, know your roads in your local area, um, be armed to defend yourself, and don't a single woman by herself should not be trying to draw attention to herself. So you don't want to necessarily be hiking out on a roadway in the middle of the day where anybody can see you, but maybe hiking at night when no one is traveling so they never see you, and then, sleeping off the road during the day when all the people stuff is happening. Um, Try not to have to do it alone, but if you're going to have to do it alone, you really want to think defensively. You do not want to think, oh, I'm going to be like that character in a movie where I'm going to be out there hunting people with a bow and arrow. No, you want to draw the least amount of attention to yourself. And you also want to, if you have to be walking, understand if you don't walk regularly and you don't have your boots and your socks and everything broken in, you're probably going to need some blister stuff. It's called moleskin. You're probably going to need some band-aids and maybe some Vaseline. some extra pair of socks because your feet are going to get sore and tired. Have some meds to reduce inflammation like aspirin, so you can take that. Have something to carry your water in. Make sure you have enough water. Water purification if you're not going to carry all the water you're going to need. And have a destination. Be going somewhere. Don't just be a refugee wandering around hoping that, the kindness of strangers is going to save you, because you're very, very vulnerable. Have some place you intend to go and have it realistic. Don't think you're going to walk from California to New York. If you're in California, pick a place somewhere in California, maybe a women's shelter, maybe a college campus or a church that you intend to go to, and then from there move to somewhere else. So those are some of my suggestions to you. One girl's trek, and hopefully I answered some of your questions and gave you guys promptings to work on your plan on what you're going to do. Okay, that was fast, but sky is darkening, might start raining on me. I gotta get going. All right, thanks for watching, y'all. See you around. Bless you. Shalom.